The stars above the distant colony of Veridon IV burned cold and silent, uncaring of the nightmare that had begun below. The colony's skies, once clear and peaceful, were now choked with black smoke and the flicker of burning cities. The air carried the screams of the dying, the thunder of alien war machines, and the desperate crackle of a message, a single transmission repeating over and over. Carried by trembling hands from the surface and launched into deep space. It was not a message of hope. It was a scream for survival, an SOS, a final frantic cry into the void. And somewhere light years away, on the most dangerous planet in known space, someone was listening, Earth. The signal had reached the wrong world. The message was short, desperate, and full of static. This is Veridon Colony. Unknown hostile species. We are under attack. They are killing everyone. Please, the transmission cut there, but the damage was done. Cross-control stations buried beneath Earth's surface, sensors lit up, alerts sounded, and screens flared with red warnings. But it was not fear that filled the command halls of Earth. It was silence. Cold, calculated, predatory. The galaxy had forgotten. Earth. The other species, those who flew shining ships and built star empires, had long dismissed the Deathworlders as primitive, savage, unpredictable. Many thought humanity was too violent to deal with. Others thought Earth too far, too isolated to matter. But those who understood those few ancient powers that still whispered warnings in the dark knew the truth. Earth was not like other worlds. Earth was a place of monsters, a world where survival shaped everything. A world where only the strong lived. And when humanity was called upon, it did not send diplomats. It sent hunters. The order was given without a single raised voice. No debate. No hesitation. Within minutes, Earth's warfleet dark ships built for planetary siege. Command carriers with guns the size of cities and black-armored drop craft was moving. Engines flared. Hatches sealed across dozens of military bases and shipyards. Earth's soldiers gathered in silence, their armor cold and featureless, their faces hidden behind black visors that reflected nothing but darkness. They had been trained for one thing: extinction-level response. Veridon IV had called for help, but help was not coming. Vengeance was. The fleet rose from Earth's orbit like a shadow made of metal and fire. Thousands of warships moved without sound, without warning, leaving behind the blue sphere of their homeworld and vanishing into the black sea of space. They moved faster than light, across the great voids between stars, engines burning cold as ice. There were no civilians on board. These ships, no families, only soldiers, only predators. Only the last species in the galaxy anyone should have pushed. The signal from Veridon kept repeating. Every time it played, every time the broken voice screamed for help, the Deathworlders prepared their weapons in cold silence. They did not come for conquest. They did not come to occupy. They came because someone, somewhere, had made the mistake of harming their own. On Veridon IV, the colony was dying. Alien war beasts, towering creatures of metal, claw, and plasmar, strew the smoking streets. Their weapons burned through walls and flesh alike, their twisted faces snarling in languages no human could understand. The colonists, ordinary men, women, and children, had no chance. They hid in collapsed buildings. They ran through smoke-choked alleys. But the enemy was merciless. City after city fell. Entire districts vanished in walls of fire. The skies rained ash and steel. The invaders did not fear retaliation, believed no help would come. They had not heard of Deathworlders. They had not yet seen what Earth leashes when provoked. The first sign came in orbit long after the last alien. War machines thought the battle won. Without warning, the black shape of an Earth warship dropped from faster than light, materializing above the burning world in total silence. It was not a single ship. It was a fleet. A wall of metal, dark as night, armed with weapons so advanced, the invaders could not even recognize their design. The alien commanders, confident until this moment, froze in confusion. And then terror. The Deathworlders did not broadcast warnings. They did not send envoys. They opened fire. Beams of energy lanced from orbit, slicing through the atmosphere with surgical precision. Railgun slugs the size of transport trucks screamed. Through the air, obliterating alien war platforms, dropships launched like arrows, falling through the fire with terrible speed, carrying soldiers who were not here to negotiate. The ground itself shook as the first of Earth's black armored infantry touched down silent, relentless, rifles raised.
House.
A bintram bamper, balam semrem brighter rev, baro is by bread rev, thouner spirit and I sata where sin with their hearts beat without fear. The alien soldiers, creatures of war, bred for conquest, charged to meet them. Plasma rifles roared, claws flashed. For a heartbeat, it seemed the invaders might have the strength to resist. They were wrong. The first clash happened in the ruins of Veridon's capital, burning towers rising. Like skeletons against a blood-red sky, the Death Worlders moved through the wreckage without haste, without panic. Every shot they fired hit its mark. Every step they took drove the enemy back. Alien war beasts fell, their bodies ripped apart by rail rounds. Plasma bolts glanced off. Reinforced armor, when the enemy tried to flank, Earth's aerial drones dropped from the sky, cutting them down without mercy. It was not a battle. It was a hunt. The people of Veridon, those who still lived, watched from shattered windows and collapsed shelters. Their eyes wide with disbelief. They had heard the old stories, the old warnings about Earth, but they had never imagined this. The black armored figures that moved through the fire were not just soldiers, they were something else. Something worse, predators from the most dangerous world in the galaxy, as the sun set over Veridon. For the ground below glowed with fire and death. The sky was filled with the black shadows of Earth's fleet. The alien invaders who had arrived. So confident, so merciless, now faced something they could not understand. The signal that sparked the storm has been answered, and the hunt had only just begun. The night sky above Veridon 4 burned with falling fire. The cold stars hidden behind the brutal glow of explosions in the black. Silhouettes of Earth's warships hanging motionless in low orbit. The alien invaders who once moved like conquerors. Across the colony's fragile cities were running now. For the first time since they landed, they were afraid. And they had every reason to be. Death Worlders had arrived, and they had brought hell with them. On the ground, across the shattered streets of the colony, Earth soldiers advanced in perfect silence. Black armored figures, their faces hidden behind smooth mirrored visors, moved through smoke and ash. Like ghosts, their weapons sleek. Deadly railguns and plasma carbines flashed with cold precision. Every shot they fired found its target. Every motion was sharp, efficient, lethal. They moved with the calm of those who had done this before. Many times, on worlds far more hostile than this one. They didn't shout. They didn't panic. They hunted the enemy, the alien species known only by a guttural name no human tongue could pronounce, had thought this would be easy. They had done this on other worlds, sweeping aside weak prey, taking what they wanted, leaving nothing but ruins behind. But Veridon was different. Veridon had sent a signal, and Earth had answered, in the ruins of the colony's industrial sector. One squad of Death Worlders moved through the darkness, their boots crunching over shattered glass and twisted metal. The bodies of fallen colonists and enemy soldiers alike littered the ground. Fires burned in broken buildings. The air stank of blood and fuel. At the squad's head, a soldier known only by her calcine raven raised a fist, signaling her team to halt. She scanned the smoke ahead, her visor glowing faintly in the dark movement, without a word. Her squad shifted 5 soldiers armored head to toe, rifles raised. The alien war beasts were close. Massive things, their limbs ending in claws, their faces split by jagged mandibles, their weapons grafted directly into their flesh. But it didn't matter. The Deathworlders were ready. The first enemy burst from cover, roaring, plasma cannon glowing. It didn't even get the chance to fire. Raven's rifle cracked, and the creature's skull exploded in a spray of black-green fluid. Before the body hit the ground, her squad was already moving, engaging targets, cutting down everything in their path. The aliens screamed. They died. None escaped. In less than a minute, the alley was quiet again. Only the crackle of distant flames remained. Raven's voice came cold over comms. Area clear. Move forward. This was happening all across Verdun. From the burned ruins of the capital to the deep forests where alien drop pods still smoldered. In the dirt, Earth's soldiers struck like precision blades. They moved faster than the enemy could react. They outflanked. They overwhelmed. Every time the invaders tried to regroup, they were cut down before the first order could be given. Earth's orbital weapons, railguns, kinetic strikes. Orbital lasers lit the surface from above, vaporizing alien armor columns, destroying heavy artillery before it could be used. The aliens, for all their biological strength and savage weaponry, had made a single fatal mistake. They had attacked a species that did not know how to stop high in orbit. Aboard the command carrier Iron Wrath, Commander Rourke stood with arms folded, his eyes fixed on the tactical displays hovering in the air before him. Red enemy markers flashed and vanished one by one, wiped from the field with clinical efficiency. He said nothing. His expression never changed. The war was going exactly as he knew it would. Status, he said quietly. 72% of enemy forces neutralized, the operations officer replied. Resistance is collapsing across all fronts. Civilian evacuation underway in southern sectors. Rourke's eyes narrowed slightly. No survivors on their side. The officer hesitated, then nodded. Confirmed, sir. No quarter given. It was Earth's way. There was no forgiveness for those who slaughtered human colonies. No mercy for those who made the mistake of thinking Deathworlders were like any other species. The galaxy had never understood Earth's true nature. They saw the human cities, their technology, their art, their hope. But beneath all of it, beneath the soft voices, the peaceful dreams, was something older, harder. A species shaped by a world that tried to kill them every day. A species that survived not through strength alone, but through ruthless, relentless determination. And now the galaxy was learning that lesson the hard way. On the surface, the alien forces had reached the point of collapse. Their commander SOS, few who still live, screamed in terror over broken communications, ordering retreats, calling for reinforcements that would never come. Their soldiers, once proud and brutal, threw down their weapons, or died where they stood, how some tried to flee into the forests, some tried to hide beneath the ruins, but it made no difference. The Deathworlders hunted them all. In one shattered village, the last desperate alien warband tried to regroup near the burned-out husks of human homes. They formed a circle, weapons raised, snarling into the night. But the humans came any way dark shapes, moving through the smoke. Silenced gunfire cracked in the distance. Shadows shifted. One by one, the aliens vanished, dragged into darkness, cut down before they could scream. By the time the last survivor turned to flee, a single shot ended his life mid-step. His body hit the ground without sound. The humans left no survivors. In the dark, the colonists who still lived clung to one another, their eyes wide with shock. They whispered to each other, barely daring to speak. They had seen the face of the enemy and they had seen the nightmare Earth had unleashed in response. Some wept. Some prayed. All of them knew, deep down, that something unstoppable had been set loose upon the stars, and above it all, the black ships of Earth drifted in silence, their weapons still glowing faintly in the night. The hunt had begun, and it would not end until every last enemy was erased from the face of Verdun. The The skies above Veridon 4 glowed with the bruised colors of smoke and distant fire. The once peaceful colony world now a silent graveyard of ash and ruin. The screams of the dying had faded, replaced by the cold thunder of Earth's machines. Grinding across the broken landscape, the alien invaders, those savage creatures who had once marched confidently across these streets, were no longer soldiers. They were prey, and the Deathworlders were the hunters. The black-armored soldiers of Earth moved through the ruins with terrifying silence. Their mirrored visors reflected the burning world around them, their boots pressed softly into the blood-soaked ground. They did not speak. They did not hesitate. They moved with the cold, methodical precision of predators who had done this many times before. Every motion was efficient. Every shot was fatal. Across the collapsed remains of Veridon's largest city, the last pockets of alien resistance fought and failed. It wasn't even a battle anymore. It was something worse. Something the alien soldiers could not understand. They had faced wars before. They'd crushed weaker worlds before. But this was different. The Deathworlders did not break. They did not retreat. They did not even slow. The enemy commanders, those towering armored creatures with twisted limbs and insectoid eyes, shouted commands that went unheard. Their soldiers were scattered, their formations shattered, their heavy weapons blasted to molten scrap by Earth's orbital strikes. Panic spread like wildfire through their ranks. And yet the humans came on, in one shattered square near the ruins of Veridon's old administration tower. A group of alien survivors tried to regroup. Their bodies were burned, their armor scorched, their hands trembling on alien weapons that now felt far too small. One of them, a war leader with a plasma staff clutched in shaking claws, raised his voice to rally them, but the words caught in his throat as he saw the black shapes approaching through the drifting ash. The Deathworlders moved without fear. For soldiers, silent rifles raised. Their visors shone like black mirrors. Without a single spoken word, they opened fire. The alien soldiers screamed and died. Plasma rounds slammed into their armor, cutting them down in flashes of molten metal and bone. The war leader roared, fired wildly, but the humans didn't even flinch. They advanced step by step, every movement precise, every shot placed with cold, unshaking hands. In less than 10 seconds, the square fell silent again. The last alien dropped, smoke rising from its torn chest. The humans moved on without a word above. In the dark sky, Earth's fleet prowled like wolves, their engines casting a cold, blue glow across the clouds of war. The command carrier Iron Wrath hung in the upper atmosphere, its massive railguns still warm from the bombardments. Commander Rourke stood at the center of the command deck, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Red enemy markers vanished in steady rhythm, one after another. "Status," Rourke said, his voice low and calm. 84% enemy losses confirmed, came the reply. Remaining forces scattered, no organized resistance detected. Rourke's face didn't change. His hands rested calmly behind his back. Continue. The galaxy had always underestimated humanity. Even now, some distant empires might be watching the reports, believing that perhaps Earth's response was excessive, perhaps the Deathworlders were simply savage monsters. But those who truly understood those ancient, hidden species who had once glimpsed Earth's true face knew the truth. This wasn't savagery. This wasn't chaos. This was survival. On a death world, there is no mercy. There is only the hunt. And now that instinct, honed over countless generations on the most lethal planet in known space, had been unleashed on the stars. Down in the burning ruins of Veridon's industrial zone, a nightmare unfolded. The alien invaders had unleashed their heavy war beast's monstrous biological weapons, each one the size of a house, covered in plated armor and armed with plasma cannons fused to twisted flesh. They stomped through the rubble, howling in alien voices, determined to hold their ground. The Deathworlders didn't blink. The first railgun round hit the lead, Warbeast's center mass tearing through its heart in a single, brutal shot. The creature buckled, screamed, and collapsed into the dust. The others roared in panic, but Earth's soldiers were already in motion. Missile teams fired. Drones swarmed. Heavy exosuits, massive steel frames, piloted by black-armored humans strode into the fight like ancient titans, their cannons blazing. One by one, the war beasts died. The aliens broke. They fled into the streets, leaving behind burning wreckage and shattered limbs. Some dropped their weapons. Some simply collapsed, too wounded to move. But the Deathworlders didn't stop. Gave no quarter. They advanced without pause, cutting down the fleeing soldiers with the same ruthless precision as before, in the city's outskirts. Lieutenant Hale's squad moved through the wreckage of what had once been a residential district. Broken houses, burned playgrounds, ash blowing in the wind. Her team moved cautiously, weapons raised, scanning for any last threats. But all they found were bodies, human and alien alike. The cost of war written in blood across every ruined street. She paused near the remains of an old colony sign, her breath misting inside her helmet. "We're too late for most of them," she murmured. Her second in command, a soldier known as Stone, nodded grimly. "They'll pay for it," he said softly. "All of them." And they would. In the far distance, the last strongholds of the alien force burned beneath Earth's orbital guns. Defensive lines collapsed in molten fire. Command centers were flattened. The few alien commanders still alive screamed. Interbroken comes for help that would never come. The humans never stopped moving, and high above, as the black ships drifted through the smoke-choked heavens, Commander Rourke watched in silence. It wasn't enough to win. It wasn't enough to drive the enemy back. Earth's answer to the SOS was not diplomacy. It was not mercy. It was complete and total annihilation of the threat. The Deathworlders were not here to talk. They were here to finish it, and the fury of their hunt had only just begun. The sun, over Verdun 4, rose over a wasteland of ash, broken steel, and silence. The once thriving colony was gone, its streets shattered, its towers reduced to twisted skeletons, its skies still thick with smoke. The air stank of burning metal and alien blood. And beneath that rising sun, the last remnants of the invading army broke apart completely. There was no order now, no command structure, no unity. The aliens, those towering insectoid beasts that had once marched confidently through Veridans, cities had become exactly what Earth's soldiers knew they would become: prey. They ran in ones and twos through the ruins, abandoning their weapons, clawing through debris in hopeless attempts to escape. Some dropped to their knees, gibbering in their guttural language, their eyes wild with terror. Others fired blindly, into the smoke, screaming in confusion, their minds shattered by the relentless precision of the Deathworlders' assault. The humans didn't slow. They moved through the carnage like ghosts, black-armored soldiers with mirrored visors that reflected only fire and death. They did not celebrate. They did not shout. They simply hunted. Every step brought them closer to the last enemy positions. Every breath was measured. Every shot was fatal. In the ruins of Veridan's power grid once, the heart of the colony's industry, the final organized alien defense tried to hold. A handful of surviving commanders gathered their troops behind makeshift barricades of scrap and stone. Plasma cannons aimed toward the smoke-filled streets. Their bodies trembled. Their claws gripped weapons slick with sweat. They knew the humans were coming. They knew it was already too late. The first drone strike hit at dawn. A silent black sphere dropped from the sky and detonated mid-air, releasing a searing electromagnetic pulse that shattered alien electronics, fried sensors, and blinded targeting systems. Before the defenders could react, Earth soldiers were upon them. Exosuited infantry, tall, hulking figures encased in gleaming battle frames, stormed the barricades with railguns roaring. Plasma fire glanced uselessly off reinforced plating. The humans moved like machines, no hesitation, no mercy. The alien defense collapsed in seconds, one by one. The commanders fell, their bodies torn apart by kinetic rounds. The remaining soldiers scattered, some throwing down their weapons, others choosing to die fighting. It didn't matter. The outcome was already written. They were all hunted down. Farther west, near the shattered remains of Veridan's agricultural fields, another pocket of survivors attempted a desperate last stand. These soldiers, once elite shock troops of their species, now crouched in trenches dug with trembling hands, their eyes wide, their voices broken. They had witnessed too much, had seen entire armored divisions wiped out by Earth's orbital guns in the first hours of the assault. They had seen their monstrous war beasts torn apart by human exosuits. They had seen their commanders vaporized before their eyes. And worst of all, they had seen the humans' faces. Or rather, they hadn't. Because Earth's soldiers never removed their helmets, never spoke, never revealed anything behind the cold reflection of those mirrored visors. To the alien invaders, it was as if they were fighting shadows. Silent, perfect hunters who killed without pause and without fear. When the final assault came, it was swift. Missile teams eliminated the few remaining alien artillery positions. Drone tanks rolled over defensive lines. Adabluck armored infantry moved through the trenches without a single wasted motion, rifles spitting precise bursts of railgun fire. The aliens barely had time to scream. It was over in less than 20 minutes, in orbit. Aboard the Iron Wrath, Commander Rourke stood unmoving as the last red icons vanished from the tactical display. Around him, officers reported the victory. In quiet voices, their faces pale beneath the flicker of holographic light. Ground resistance eliminated. One officer said, "All known enemy combatants neutralized. No further hostile signals detected." Rourke's jaw tightened. His eyes, cold and distant, stayed fixed on the ruined shape of Veridan for spinning slowly beneath the ship. "Begin the cleanup," he said softly. "No survivors. No trace." The operations team obeyed without question. This was not conquest. This was not glory. This was justice, the kind only Deathworlders knew how to deliver. Earth had not come to take Veridan. Earth had come to answer a call for help. And when that call was answered, there could be only one ending: the complete and utter destruction of the threat. On the surface, the last alien bodies cooled in the dust. Smoke drifted through the shattered remains of homes and cities. And slowly, hesitantly, human colonists emerged from hiding. Men, women, children, faces pale, eyes wide with disbelief. They had survived. Somehow, they had survived. One child, a boy no older than 7, stood among the wreckage of what had once been his home. Staring up at the dark shape of a Deathworlder soldier who stood motionless nearby, the soldier said nothing. His mirrored visor reflected the child's tear-streaked face. For a long moment, there was only silence, and then the soldier, without a word, offered the child a canteen of water. The boy took it with trembling hands. The soldier turned and walked away. No speeches, no ceremony, just survival. Across Veridan to 4, the black ships of Earth's fleet drifted silently through the sky. The fires of the battlefield still smoldered. The scars of the invasion would never fully heal. But the message had been sent. The enemy had broken, and the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Do not harm Earth's people, because when you do, there's no escape. The Deathworlders will come, and they will end you. The sky over Veridan 4 was no longer a sky. It was a ceiling of flame. Black smoke covered the stars, and the horizon burned in every direction. The once thriving colony world had become a graveyard, a shattered ruin where the last screams of the dying faded into silence. Then through the fire, through the ash, the Deathworlders advanced. The alien invaders had nowhere left to run. Their initial assault had been swift, brutal, confident. They had come to Veridan for expecting a simple conquest, another helpless human colony to add to their list of victories. But they had miscalculated. They had not expected the signal to reach Earth. They had not understood the meaning of awakening. The predators from the Deathworld. Now, those who survived, what few alien soldiers remained, ran through the wreckage like cornered animals, hunted from all sides, and Earth's forces gave them no way out. Across the collapsed streets of Veridan's southern city, the last organized alien units attempted to regroup. Their war leaders, frantic and wounded, barked commands in guttural alien voices. Forcing their remaining soldiers into makeshift defenses, barricades of twisted metal, shattered vehicles, and broken walls. Plasma cannons were set, snipers posted, the remnants of an army prepared to die, and then the sky split open. The first of Earth's heavy dropships descended like falling daggers, engines howling through the thick smoke. Massive and angular, their dark hulls bore the scars of countless campaigns. From their hatches poured the next wave, black armored infantry, heavy exosuits bristling with guns, rolling drawn tanks that moved with eerie silence. The alien defenders opened fire immediately. Plasma blasts and energy beams screamed across the rubble, but it was like throwing sticks at a hurricane. The Deathworlders moved through the assault without flinching. Their armor, reinforced by alloys no alien species had ever seen, shrugged off the enemy's best weapons. And when they returned fire, the results were merciless. Railgun rounds tore through barricades as if they were paper. Plasma cutters sliced through armored beasts. The air filled with the crack of gunfire and the wet crunch of alien flesh torn apart. The defenders held for minutes, then seconds, then none. And then they broke. The first two were shot in. The back, the ones who stayed, died standing in the command ship Iron Wrath. Commander Rourke watched the battle unfold in cold silence. His hands rested calmly behind his back as enemy positions vanished one after another on the tactical displays. Red dots blinked out, entire units erased by orbital strikes or precision ground assaults. His face showed nothing, no satisfaction, no anger. Only the same calm, unbreakable focus. They're breaking. The operations officer reported, his voice hushed despite the carnage on the screen. All sectors reporting collapse. Multiple units attempting retreat into the northern forests. Orcs. Eyes narrowed. His voice was quiet but final. No escape. The command was relayed in an instant. Across Veridan 4. Earth's aerial drones, black machines with no faces and no souls, swept across the sky like metal birds of prey. They hunted the fleeing enemy with cold precision, cutting down survivors with silent rail fire from above. On the ground, heavy tanks and exosuits blocked every possible escape corridor. Herding the panicked enemy into kill zones, the Deathworlders showed no mercy, no hesitation, because there was no way out. In the ruins of an old colony hospital, one small group of alien soldiers, barely more than a dozen survivors, huddled inside the burned skeleton of the building. Their weapons shook in their claws. They whispered in their native tongue, terror choking their voices. The sound of Earth soldiers grew closer, heavy boots against shattered glass, faint hum of drone engines circling overhead. The leader of the group, a scarred veteran of countless alien wars, pressed his back against the wall and whispered something to himself, but prayers did not matter now. The first human appeared in the doorway, a black armored figure.
That guy visor glowing faintly.
In the dark, without a word, the soldier raised his rifle and fired. The lead alien dropped instantly, his skull shattered. The others panicked, firing wildly, but more humans appeared from the smoke, moving like shadows, cutting them down one by one. The entire exchange lasted less than 15 seconds. Then the hospital fell silent, and the humans moved on. Farther north, in the dense forests where the alien army had once landed its dropships, another desperate pocket of survivors gathered. Around the twisted wreckage of their transports, smoke poured from ruined engines. The bodies of their own kind burned, dismembered littered the mud. They had nowhere left to go. That was when the air filled with the sound of incoming engines. The Deathworlders came from above, this time stealth bombers slipping through the thick smoke, releasing precision payloads. The first explosions tore through the forest, lighting the night in flashes of blue-white flame. Trees shattered. The ground shook. The survivors screamed, scattering in panic, but the drones were waiting. The black machines picked them off one. By sunrise, there were no survivors left in the northern forests. From orbit to ground, the humans had sealed every path. The enemy was surrounded, cut off, buried in their own blood and wreckage. And Earth soldiers, without joy, without hesitation, did what they were trained to do. They finished the hunt. In the burning ruins of Veridan's central plaza, a small group of civilians, pale, trembling, stood beneath the cracked stone of an old monument. They had no weapons, no homes left, but they were alive. And they were alive because the monsters from Earth had come. One of the civilians, a woman with soot-streaked skin and hollow eyes, whispered softly as she watched the black shapes of the soldiers moving through the smoke. "They saved us," she murmured. Her voice cracked. "God help them, but they saved us." High above, the black fleet of Earth circled the ruined world in silence, the last smoke of battle rising beneath them. The message was clear. The answer had been given, and for those who dared harm humanity, there was no way out. Veredenfor lay in ruins, but the fire was not yet done burning. Across the broken cities, the last embers of the invasion smoldered beneath the gray sky. The alien invaders, once so confident, so sure of their dominance, had been reduced to scattered, broken creatures, fleeing without direction, hunted from every side. But there was one last stronghold. One final place where the enemy had gathered what little remained of its strength. A fortress deep in the northern wastes, built from the bones of their landing ships, armored in steel, torn from the colony itself. A place where the last of them had chosen to make their final stand. Earth's war fleet would not allow it. The humans did not rush. They did not need to. They advanced with cold calculation, every move precise, every step part of a larger plan. That had already been written. The fortress would fall, because that was what Deathworlders did. They ended things. High above, the black ships of Earth's fleet hovered like silent gods, their weapons still glowing from the last bombardment. Inside the Iron Wrath, Commander Rourke studied the final target, his eyes cold, his voice calm. "Confirm. All strike groups in position. All units green," came the reply. "Encirclement complete. No enemy escape possible." Rourke nodded. "Proceed." On the ground, Earth's soldiers moved into place. The fortress loomed ahead. Twisted mass of metal, scorched alien banners, jagged plasma turrets, and frantic defenders. The last of the invaders clung to the walls, their weapons shaking in. Bloodied claws, their monstrous faces twisted in fear. They had seen what the humans could do. They had seen their armies reduced to ash. They knew what was coming, and still they fought, because they had no other choice. The first artillery barrage came. Just after dawn, railgun slugs the size of shuttles slammed into the outer barricades, tearing through metal and bone alike. Plasma walls melted under the assault. The alien defenders fired back desperately, blindly, but their weapons did nothing. Earth's heavy drones swarmed overhead, cutting down enemy gunners with silent precision. Black armored infantry advanced from three sides, their exosuits gleaming in the flickering firelight. The enemy screamed, and the Deathworlders kept moving. At the southern wall, a breach opened in seconds. Earth's ground forces led by Ravens. Squad pushed through the smoke and flame, rifles raised. As the aliens, what few still held the line, charged in a last suicidal rush, plasma blades drawn, howling in rage. They were met by railgun bursts to the chest, by drone strikes from above, by the cold efficiency of soldiers who did not break, who did not hesitate. The clash was brutal, short, final. In less than 15 minutes, the outer perimeter of the fortress collapsed inside the shattered walls. The last alien commander, a towering brute marked by scars and decorated with alien symbols of rank, roared in defiance. He called his warriors to him, rallying the survivors in the central courtyard of the fortress. His voice deep and guttural shook with both fury and terror. This was no longer about victory. This was survival, pride, desperation. But the Deathworlders gave no space for pride. From above, Earth's aerial drones marked the target. A single coded pulse was sent from the Iron Wrath. The sky opened. Precision kinetic strikes rained down, smashing into the fortress's heart. Shockwaves flattened what remained of the walls. The alien commander's roar was cut short in a flash of white heat and twisted metal. The survivors, those who still breathed, were thrown from their feet, their bodies broken, their weapons falling useless to the ground. And then the humans entered the breach. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. Black-armored soldiers moved through the crumbling corridors, weapons raised. Every movement was silent, calculated. Every shot found its mark. No one ran. No one escaped. The fortress, the last hope of the invaders, was reduced to rubble in minutes. By the time the smoke cleared, the last alien body lay still. It was over from orbit. The confirmation came. Fortress destroyed. All hostile signals terminated. Inside the command deck, Commander Rourke gave no reaction. No smile, no sign of satisfaction. Simply nodded once, his voice cold. Begin post-battle sweeps. Leave nothing. Below, the Deathworlders moved through the ruins. They checked every chamber, every tunnel, every hiding place. They recovered the few remaining human colonists held captive inside, wounded, terrified, but alive. They marked the locations for retrieval. But their primary task remained the same. No alien would survive, and none did. In the hours that followed, Earth's fleet deployed atmospheric drones to scan every inch of Veridon 4's surface. And hidden escape pods were located and destroyed.
Small
Pockets of wounded enemies were found in the wilderness and eliminated. The hunt was relentless, total. The Deathworlders did not rest. They did not slow, because survival was not enough. Victory meant making sure the threat could never rise again. Across the broken colony, the surviving civilians, hollow-eyed and shaking, emerged from shelters, their faces lit by the eerie glow of the black ships overhead. They gathered in silent groups, whispering, staring at the strange, cold soldiers who moved through the rubble. They had heard of Earth's military before. They had heard the stories half-true, half-whispered warnings, told in the dark. But none of them had truly believed it, not until now. And as the fortress burned in the distance, as the last smoke of war drifted into the gray sky, the message was clear. Veridon 4 would rebuild, but the galaxy would never be the same for those who dared to harm Earth's people. The cost was written in blood and fire. The Deathworlders had come, and the fortress had fallen. The fire still burned. Even though the battle was over, Veridon 4 remained a world drowning in smoke, ash, and death. The broken colony lay in silent ruin, its towers crushed, its streets littered with the twisted remains of alien invaders and shattered machines. The sky above was bruised gray, choked with clouds of soot, and the black shapes of Earth's warships still circled like silent predators, their shadows casting long and cold across the wounded land. But for the Deathworlders, the war was not finished. Because war was never just about the fighting, it was about the message. And the message had to be written in fire so deep, so permanent, that no species in the galaxy would ever forget it. On the ground, across every sector of Veridon, Earth's soldiers hunted what little remained of the enemy. Scattered survivors, some wounded, some half-mad, stumbled through the wreckage, their alien weapons, long discarded, their once-proud banners lying in torn shreds among the rubble. They had no commanders left, no communications, no chance. The Deathworlders gave them none. In the ruins of the Eastern Industrial Zone, Lieutenant Hale's unit moved silently through the twisted skeletons of broken factories. The ground beneath their boots was slick with alien blood, the walls pitted with craters and charred bone. No voices broke the silence. Only the soft crunch of shattered glass. Only the cold hum of drone engines circling overhead. Without warning, Hale raised her fist. The squad froze instantly, weapons raised, movement ahead. Through the haze of smoke, 2 alien figures stumbled into view, wounded, unarmed, their once fierce eyes wide with terror. They were fleeing, dragging one another toward the ruins of an old colony transport. They looked small now, fragile, pathetic. One of Hale's soldiers hesitated. "They're unarmed," he whispered, but Hale's voice came back cold and flat. "Rules of engagement. No survivors." The railgun shots were quick, precise. The aliens fell without a sound. The squad moved on without breaking pace. This was the way of the Deathworlders. It wasn't hatred, it wasn't revenge. It was survival, pure, cold survival. Those who slaughtered Earth's people were never allowed to walk away. not one. Because if even a single enemy lived, the threat would return, the lesson would fade. And history had taught humanity that only one thing ever truly stopped war, making sure no one remained to start the next one. Farther west, in the blackened remains of Veridan's spaceport, another unit of Earth's soldiers engaged the last alien holdouts. The invaders had gathered near the collapsed landing pads, crouched behind overturned shuttles and the wreckage of their own transports. A few clutched plasma rifles. Some simply cowered, their weapons discarded, their eyes locked to the sky. But there was no salvation coming. The humans approached from 3 directions, silent as death. Drone fire lit the ruins. Precision rail rounds punched through makeshift cover. The aliens died where they hid, their bodies left crumpled in the dust. The few who tried to run were cut down without hesitation. And when it was done, the humans marked the site for cleansing. No mercy, no survivors. In orbit aboard the Iron, Wrath, Commander Rourke, stood as always calm, unmoving, his eyes fixed on the ever-fading tactical display. One by one, the last red icons vanished. The planet below grew quieter, but his expression did not change. Status, he said quietly. Enemy. Presence reduced to scattered non-combatants. Isolated life signs only, an officer reported. All command structures eliminated. Enemy extinction at 98%. Rourke's jaw tightened. His voice was a whisper. Sweep again. There will be nothing left. And so the hunt continued, across every corner of Veridan. For Earth's black armored soldiers pushed deeper into the wilderness, to the smoking forests, into the collapsed tunnels of alien command bunkers. They searched every cave, every crater, every shadowed ruin. They deployed hunter drones to scour the skies, atmospheric sensors to track even the faintest of life signs. There was no escape, no hiding place deep enough, because Earth had not come to negotiate. Earth had come to end this in the northern wildlands. Deep beneath the burned trees, one last pocket of alien survivors huddled in fear. They were broken creatures now half dead. Covered in ash, their weapons lost. They whispered to one another in desperate voices, their minds frayed beyond reason. Some spoke of surrender, some begged for mercy, some simply wept. But when the black shapes of Earth's drones appeared in the sky above them, when the whine of kinetic strikes filled the air, they knew the truth. There would be no mercy. The bombardment was fast, precise, final. The survivors were gone in an instant. By nightfall, Veridan 4 was silent. The colonists, the few thousand who had managed to survive the initial assault, stood among the rubble of their homes, their faces pale, their eyes hollow. They had been saved. But they had seen the price of that salvation. They had watched the black-armored soldiers move through the ruins without hesitation, without pause, without human warmth. And as the last fires died down, they understood the terrible truth. The signal they had sent into the void had not summoned heroes. It had summoned monsters, but they were Earth's monsters. And for that, they were grateful. In the command ship, Rourke gave the final order. Confirm planetary cleansing complete. Begin withdrawal. The black ships of Earth's fleet began to rise, leaving behind only the dust, the ash, and the unspoken. Warning, carved into the bones of the dead, across the stars, galaxy would hear of Veridan for it, and it would remember. When you call for help, the Death Worlders will come, and they will leave no survivors. Veridan 4 was dead. The fires were out. The smoke drifted away on cold winds. The shattered bones of cities lay still beneath the gray sky. In the wreckage, no sounds remained except the distant crackle of ash and the soft whisper of the breeze. Through twisted metal, the alien invaders, those who had once marched across this world with confidence, were gone, not defeated, not repelled, erased, and the Death Worlders were leaving. High above the broken planet, the black ships of Earth's war fleet hung motionless in the upper atmosphere, silent giants of steel and fire. Their weapons cold now, their engines thrumming. Softly as the last operations concluded, one by one, the orbital platforms pulled back, their shadows fading from Veridon's scarred ground. The hunt was over. The message was sent, but the weight of it remained. Aboard the Iron Wrath, Commander Rourke stood alone at the wide observation window, his reflection barely visible in the glass. Below him, the world burned in silence. His eyes were steady, expressionless. There was no pride in his face, no satisfaction, only cold necessity. Only the knowledge that this, too, would not be the last time. The soft voice of the operations officer broke the stillness. Planet secured, all enemy forces neutralized. No hostile life signs remaining. Rourke's voice was barely above a whisper. Casualty report. Colony population reduced by 81%. The officer answered quietly. Rescue. Operations in progress. Survivors being relocated to temporary shelters. The numbers settled into the air like ash. Rourke gave a single nod. His hands remained clasped behind his back, unmoving. Initiate fleet withdrawal. The command rippled outward. Across the fleet, engines roared to life. Earth's warships turned their steel faces away from Veridon, their weapons dark, their holds filled with the soldiers of the hunt. Drones were recalled. Ground units withdrew step by step, leaving behind the cold ruins without a word, without a sound. The Deathworlders came as shadows. They departed the same way, but the scars they left behind would never fade. On the surface, in the burned remains of Veridon's southern capital, the surviving colonists gathered in small, frightened groups. Men, women, and children, with hollow faces and haunted eyes, stood among the rubble of their old lives, staring up at the black ships as they rose through the smoke-filled sky. Some wept, some prayed. Some simply watched, their minds numb. They had called for help, and help had come. But no one who witnessed it would ever speak of the Deathworlders the same way again, in one crumbling square. A little girl sat on the edge of a shattered fountain, clutching the torn remains of a stuffed toy. She stared upward in silence as the last transport shuttles lifted into the sky. Beside her, an old man, his face lined with soot and tears, whispered under his breath, "They saved us," he said softly, voice breaking. "But God help us. They are not like us." The black ships vanished beyond the clouds, and the long silence began. Somewhere beyond Veridon, aboard the rising dropships, Earth's soldiers sat in stillness. Black visors reflected nothing. No one spoke, no cheers, no celebration. Only the hum of engines and the quiet weight of what had been done. Some checked weapons out of habit. Some sat with their helmets resting on their knees, their eyes cold, their hands still. They had won. But for soldiers of a death world, there was no joy in victory. There was only the next mission, the next threat, the next shadow in the dark. In the Iron Wrath's command center, Rourke gave his final report. The transmission traveled through deep space, encrypted, sealed, sent to Earth's highest command. He spoke in the same flat tone he had used for decades. The words were brief, precise. Veridon 4, threat neutralized. Civilian rescue ongoing. No remaining hostile elements. Operation complete. He paused. Just for a moment, his eyes cold, sharp lifted to the stars. Then the message ended, and across the void. Earth received it far beyond the war-torn system, in gleaming towers on Earth's homeworld. The message was read by men and women in shadowed rooms. They nodded. They signed orders. They prepared for the next inevitable call. Because there was one truth the galaxy would never escape. The Deathworlders always answered, in the dark corners of the galaxy, where distant species whispered in fear. The news of Veridon spread like wildfire. They spoke of it in hushed voices. They shared fragments of intercepted transmissions. They told stories, some true, some exaggerated, of black-armored humans who moved like machines, who fought without mercy, who left only silence in their wake. Some species wept, some prepared for war, and some, those wise enough, made a different choice. They chose never to raise arms against Earth again, for on that quiet death world, beneath blue skies and green forests, humanity had not simply survived, they had become something more, the predators of a world that killed its. Own children for millennia had learned to survive the impossible. And now they carried that ruthless instinct into the stars. To those who called for help, the Death Worlders would come. But to those who dared to harm what was theirs, there was only fire, there was only war, and there would never be mercy. Black ships vanished into the void. Veridon was silent, and the galaxy trembled.